Hello and welcome to the big picture. The encounter killings are back in the news, with the CBI filing a charge sheet in the Extra-judicial case in which it has been described as a fake encounter. Fake encounters or extrajudicial killings, as it is also known as, has been a major cause for concern in this country for several years now, right from the time when security forces battled the Naxals in Andhra Pradesh during the Punjab Sikh extremism and the encounters of underworld in Mumbai. However, the Gujarat fake encounters, set to number about 21 in the course of 3 years between 2003 and 2006, have been more in the news because of its nature. The terrorist angle and its linking with political targets, and the involvement of some of the most senior police officers and suspicions of political involvement has resulted in the major media as well as judicial focus it has received. Today we will discuss these extrajudicial killings and the reasons behind them and how they are tackled in this country. And more importantly, who all should be accountable when such fake encounters takes place. To discuss this, I have with me Justice R S Sodhi, a distinguished retired judge of the Delhi High Court, Prashant Bhushan, a renowned civil rights activist and Supreme Court lawyer, Arun Bhagat, former director of the CBI and IB, and Ajit Sahi, editor-at-large at the Tehelka magazine. Welcome to all of you. First, let me go to Mr. Arun Bhagat. Mr. Bhagat, fake encounters happen all the time in this country, and fake encounters are also a reality. Do you agree?
Yes, there have been occasions. I have myself investigated a number of such incidents and found that they have been fake, yes. So it is a sad reality, there's no doubt about it, and I think it is something which we inherited from our colonial past, and we have carried it along like many other bad practices.
The question, Mr. Bhagat, is that, fake encounters happen, as you said, that you also investigated it, you have found this to be fake and all that. But the problem lies in accountability of these fake encounters, isn't it?
You see, as far as I can see, the people who have done it, they have said that this is for the larger good.
Yes.
That is somehow the mental the decision that they take. I mean, I know that many of them have been men of honor and principle.
Yes.
But in certain cases, they have slipped up. Of course, certain police forces in the country have had this tradition. I mean, you cannot compare, every state is not the same. There are many states which maintain a very, I would say, high sense of morality as well as
human
adherence
rights
to the law.
Right.
But there are some other states which, for historical reasons, have accepted this as a correct practice. Now, lately, I'm very happy to see that there has been a distinct fall as far as this is concerned, and I think this is good for the people, good for the country, and a good step towards the rule of law.
Okay. Interesting, whatever you said, I'll come back to you. Justice Sodhi, it's interesting that Mr. Bhagat, one of the most experienced police officers we have had in this country, admits that there are a lot of fake encounters, and very interestingly he says that this differs from state to state. The colonial custom which some of the states seem to be carrying on even now. But I'm coming back to the issue of accountability. Where do you think that we as a nation have failed in making people who are involved in these kind of things accountable?
Firstly, I think we seem to trivialize an encounter. So once we arrive at the conclusion that it is a fake encounter, the question really thereafter is it must be tried as a murder.
Absolutely.
It is a murder,
right,
by people in authority.
Right.
And accountability begins like every other murder trial procedure for all abettors, participants, And whatever it be, he who participates in this, all of them, from A to Z, all of them must be accountable.
But do you think that happens at all in this country? Where does the problem lie?
See, it doesn't happen. The problem lies, like I said, in the acceptability, political acceptability, as also the police force itself gets lax, and it is only when a suo motu action is taken by maybe the judiciary that things move a little better. But otherwise, there is always a tendency to brush it under the carpet. Now, this, unless there is awareness and there is sensitivity amongst all of us, this is not going to stop.
Okay, Prashant, coming to you, there are very convenient ways of in which even the public in this country and sometimes even the media also looks at fake encounters. But all fake encounters cannot be bracketed in the same way.
No, in my view, a fake encounter is a murder.
Right.
It is irrespective of whether the person who has been killed in a fake encounter happened to be a criminal, happened to be a terrorist or not.
Right.
Because it is not for the people who are carrying out the encounter to decide that this person is a terrorist or this person is a criminal and therefore needs to be eliminated in a fake encounter.
Right.
In a very large number of cases, we have seen that the persons who have been eliminated or killed in cold blood in these fake encounters are people who were not criminals at all.
Right.
Many innocent people have been killed just in order for these so-called encounter specialists to earn medals, etc.
Absolutely.
And we have seen this phenomenon across the country where you have these so-called encounter specialists who have carried out 50, 60, 70 encounters. Vanjara was one of them.
Right.
Vanjara, of course, is in a very special category, who carried out 22 encounters in Gujarat over a period of
3 years?
over a period of less than 2 years.
Right.
The special feature of all these encounters was that in each of them the story made was about the same. The FIRs are virtually cut and paste jobs of each other, where the story is that these are cross-border terrorists coming from Pakistan in order to kill Mr. Narendra Modi.
Right.
And in each one of them, some vulnerable Muslim was picked up and he was eliminated in this fake encounter.
Right.
So the difference here is that these fake encounters appear to have been part of a conspiracy, of a larger political conspiracy to demonize Muslims, to generate the image of Mr. Modi as a great Hindu icon in this country.
Right.
But otherwise, this is a rampant problem, and the reason why it's going on is because there are no independent investigations or hardly any independent investigations conducted into these fake encounters.
We will come to that.
Some of these
Prashant,
Ishrat Jahan or that Sohrabuddin, etc., are one of those
Rare
those few cases
Absolutely.
which have been subjected to independent investigations.
we will come to those investigation aspect and the mechanisms which we have. But I want a quick response from Mr. Bhagat before I come to Ajit Sahi. Mr. Bhagat, there are cases where policemen do this, police do it, or security forces do it for the sake of medals, for the sake of honor, and which they get in plenty after having indulged in this kind of encounters. But Gujarat is a different case, you think, or you will bracket them along with everything else?
Well, I would say that Gujarat is no exception. There have been incidents of a similar nature in many states. In Punjab, for example, in Haryana, we have had such incidents. In UP, we have had some. So it is a deeper malaise, which I would say. And now trying to segregate it and say that it is for the enhancement of the image of somebody, I mean, I find that very difficult to swallow.
Okay. Ajit, Mr. Bhagat finds it difficult to swallow that there could be these kind of fake encounters which are being used as political tools.
Let me tell you something. More people are killed by the police in encounters and custodial killings in the state of Uttar Pradesh than in the state of Gujarat.
Right.
It is not about just Gujarat.
It is
and let me also
absolutely.
tell you,
Yes.
it is not an aberration. It is not as if that the police have some rogue elements. The fact is that the police in India are one of the biggest criminal enterprises. They are not restricted to just custodial killings or encounter killings. They practically run the entire criminal network in this country.
To just add to what you said, I have some figures here which says that this is the NHRC figures. Uttar Pradesh has the highest number of fake encounters, 716.
Absolutely.
And out of that, in Gujarat it was 20. The NHRC in comparison. There are other states, Manipur and things like that. But as you rightly said, Uttar Pradesh has the largest.
The point that I'm trying to make,
yes,
that this is not a problem of fake encounter. Please understand, in the police force, see how the police force in India is run. It is the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about what is wrong with the police force. The fact is that in the police, it is the tail which wags the dog. It is the lower level police functionaries. I mean, who doesn't know that the so-called encounter specialists in Mumbai, they would pay off crores of rupees to commissioners of police, to home minister, to ministers for a posting in that city.
Right.
It is the police at the lower levels. They have a complete stranglehold of the criminal activities that are run. We have seen in Chhattisgarh how the police and the administration is used by corporate interests. We have seen the same thing happen in Jharkhand. People who can fight back, they pick up the guns and they fight back. Of course, if I say that, people will jump at me and say, you are condoning violence. No, it's not about condoning violence. It's about defending themselves. Shahid Azmi, my friend, the lawyer who was killed, we still don't know who killed him, who was killed 3 years ago in Mumbai. He said to me, he came from a chawl, from a slum area in Mumbai. He said to me, Ajit bhai, mera khoon jalta tha. Every day we saw the police come in at any point of time. They would take the women and the girls away from our place. They would come and beat up people. They would come and kidnap anybody. So basically, it is not just about, of course, as Prashant ji said, it is, of course, there's a larger political conspiracy. But the fact is that the police in India have always acted and continue to act as an extra constitutional force in uniform.
Mr. Justice Sodhi, would you agree to that? And also another question is, this fake encounters being used as a political tool, this is a new trend. I mean, which we had not seen earlier, but now it is being suspected and charged. Though Mr. Bhagat doesn't agree with that, do you think this is becoming a trend now?
I'm not very certain about the political angle of the whole thing.
Right.
But yes, fake encounters. You see, the moment you say an encounter is fake, it itself means that it's a killing, and it's a murder.
Right.
And you see, if a police force itself is going to decide that so and so must be eliminated, then similarly you must give the same right to a citizen also to decide that so and so must be eliminated. And why are the courts there? Then what are they meant for? You must bring the criminal to court and then let justice take its course. Once you have this, once you bypass this, the whole system will collapse and is collapsing. See, there is one case which is going on today about one policeman in Punjab. I think his name is Surjit Singh. He's owning up to a large number of killings done at behest of very senior officers.
Right.
And he's filed a writ petition at the High Court to say that I can't sleep because the ghosts haunt me. And now you see these things are coming out there. They just can't lie dormant.
So do you think that this is a malaise which has very deep roots in the past, as Mr. Bhagat says that it has a colonial past?
Yes.
But in these last 65 years of independence, we have not been able to find ways and means to remove this malaise?
Yes, you're right. It has not been able to be. We have not been able to remove it. I think Justice A.N. Mullah once said, the Indian police is the organized gang of gundas. And of course, the remarks were then expunged by the Supreme Court. But I think they were right. And we've just not given up our past. And we all know police needs changes. Their reforms have to come in. The quicker, the better.
Okay, Mr. Bhagat, I mean, you having been one of those, extraordinary police officers, having headed very, very important, organizations. How do you explain this 65 years we have not been able to change the mindset?
Because the police has been totally neglected. There have been very convenient commissions which have been appointed with very wise judges heading it, but their recommendations have been put on the shelf. Nothing has been done. I mean, even the Supreme Court, I think, has tried very hard, but the response is the same. They want to continue, the politicians want the police to continue to be a tool in their hands. So instead of being an arm of justice, it is an arm of the administration. Now, you can blacken the police as much as you would like. You can use very strong adjectives, but the fact still remains that they are doing duty and sacrificing their lives in large numbers. And that the country is together today is very largely because of this police force which we sort of enjoy in maligning. Yes, we have our faults, but then you correct the faults.
Okay.
Do not keep on condemning it.
Okay. I mean, ultimately the blame comes on the politicians. Anyway, we will continue this discussion, but before that we need to go into a very, very short break. Please keep watching. We'll come back very soon. Welcome back. We are discussing the extrajudicial killings or fake encounters as they are known as, and asking the question how to ensure accountability. Prashant, coming back to you, Mr. Bhagat ultimately says that all these things, the politicians are responsible for it. But if we take, which is also the popular perception, all right, but when we take this particular case, the present case, what the charge sheet filed in Ahmedabad yesterday, in that case, the charge sheet says something about some officers having been involved, but they are not made, accused in the case. Don't you think that here the bureaucracy, the kinship is working there more than the political aspect of it?
Yes, that's true, and that goes to underline the fact that the police itself has become so powerful in this country that sometimes it is able to influence their political bosses. The Intelligence Bureau is a very good example of this. The Intelligence Bureau has always been a rogue organization, completely unaccountable, doing all kinds of illegal, unconstitutional things. And this case, the Ishrat Jahan case, is a stark reminder of that. That here there were senior officers of the Intelligence Bureau who not only provided totally false and fake intelligence inputs to justify this encounter, but who actively participated in interrogating, firstly getting hold of these people, handing them over to the Gujarat police, participating in the fake encounter, planting weapons on them. All these things were done by these IB officials, and yet because of the pressure of the IB on the Home Ministry, these IB officers who have been, against whom there is overwhelming evidence have not been made accused only because of the influence of the IB over the Home Ministry. This is a completely rogue organization that is running roughshod over every law, every rule, with zero accountability in this country. I say that this organization needs to be wound up in this country.
Okay.
It's one of the biggest threats to our
Prashant,
society, to our constitution.
Okay. Yes, Ajit, quickly.
No, I just want to say, I have, of course, what Mr. Bhagat said, there is tremendous merit in what he said, that the police are not looked upon, they are used as pawns by the political masters, and not just the political masters, because the political masters themselves are pawns in the hand of much of the corporate and the business world. They function as their arms and legs. However, to say that the police keep this country safe and united is taking it a bit too far. That's quite a stretch. I'm not willing to accept that. The fact is that the police, to say In fact, I think the term police reforms is an oxymoron. The police cannot be reformed because you've given them the guns, you've given them blanket kind of things. The prosecution sits with them. I know of a fact, I of course will not take the name, but in the case in Uttar Pradesh, I have spoken to police officers in a very recent case where they arrested a couple of Muslim young men and they went to the magistrate's house at night, they put a gun to that magistrate's head and they forced her to sign on those guys' arrest, showing that these boys were arrested from such and such place, whereas they had been picked up a week earlier. So even the magistrates and judges across India do not have the courage to challenge the police.
Justice Sodhi, would you like to react
at least
to that?
at the lower levels. At
Would you
least
like-
at the lower
Not
levels.
very.
Yes,
See, no, I don't think. I don't think that is an overall correct picture. I'm not. Maybe an aberration here and there, but I don't think this is an overall correct picture.
No,
I
but
don't think the judges have become to that extent. And Prashant is very right. You see, let us say the person has not been charge sheeted for
Right.
the time being.
Yes, I want you to address
mind
that.
you, we have a provision under 319. We have a provision under 319. The court will, after going through the entire charge sheet and seeing who is responsible for what, can always be summoned. So merely because the CBI has not participated correctly or has not named a particular person in the charge sheet is immaterial.
Okay. Mr. Bhagat, how do you respond to the charges made by Prashant Bhushan that, when the charge sheet says that these people have been involved and then they are not the accused?
Well, I think they are extreme views, absolute extreme views. What is the basis, he would only know.
No, I am not.
I know he's a very erudite person.
I am not asking you to respond to his remark that IB should be wound up. I am just asking about this particular case where the CBI charge sheets in the charge sheet says that these people were actively involved in it, but they are not charge sheeted.
I think Justice Sodhi has answered it very well. Another thing which I am surprised about is why is the line of investigation being disclosed to the public? Normally, an investigating officer keeps the line of investigation very confidential. I mean, that is necessary because evidence can be destroyed. But here, for some reason, I do not know what, but I'm sure many wise people will reach the right conclusions. The line of investigation is being given, even the names of persons who are under suspicion.
You should be
This,
be
I
able
think,
to,
is a
Mr.
very strange way of working.
Mr. Bhagat,
that is quite
having headed both the organizations, you are one of those very rare persons in this country who has headed both the CBI and IB. You should be able to answer this question better than any of us here.
Let me correct you.
Yes.
I was not the head of the CBI. I was special director.
Okay, the special director is you were almost there. Anyway, so let me come to Prashant. Prashant, do you think that this revelation of the line of investigation, which Mr. Bhagat says is a matter of great concern?
You see, what happens is, firstly, today the charge sheet is there, it's been filed in the court, and therefore everybody knows what the investigation so far has been, what the evidence is against all these officers, including these very senior IB officials, against whom there is overwhelming mountainous evidence, as I said, and yet they have not been charge sheeted, because of the pressure from the Home Ministry exerted through the Intelligence Bureau. However, you see, the revelation of the line of investigation in many of these high-profile investigations comes because of interpreted media organizations, media reporters who find access somehow or the other to one or other persons involved in the whole investigation. There is a very large team of investigators.
Absolutely.
And somehow somebody or the other tells some media organization or some media person about the nature of evidence that has been found.
like to
And
add
that's why all this comes out in the media.
Okay. Justice Sodhi, very quickly, last words to you. As far as accountability,
We
as
have seen
Justice,
that the media is fed by these police organizations.
Absolutely.
With sometimes completely planted stories.
Absolutely.
Which,
Yes, Prashant.
which seem to implicate totally innocent persons
Absolutely.
in order to create
Okay,
a
okay,
media
Prashant,
buzz
we are-
around that.
Prashant, we are
Sometimes
running-
that happens too.
Prashant,
I'm
we are
not
running
saying
out of
that it has happened
we are
in
running
this
out of
case
time,
because
Prashant.
this was a
Justice
closely
Sodhi,
court-monitored
Justice Sodhi, coming to
investigation.
you, as far as this, as very quickly, the issue of accountability. When these isn't it, how are we going to ensure accountability? Is the judiciary the only way in which the judiciary can hold these people accountable?
See, ultimately, if any matter goes to trial, accountability of the accused or those who are to be punished will only be done by the court, and accountability is only there.
But Justice
Therefore,
Sodhi,
all the
Justice Sodhi,
material will come to the court, and
but Justice Sodhi, don't you think the courts have also been lax in holding people in high positions accountable in such cases?
yes, they have. You're right. I don't say the judiciary is absolutely hasn't made mistakes, or it is not also bending. But you see, by and large, I think the last hope or the citadel is still the judiciary.
Absolutely.
And
Yes,
I
sir.
have full faith in them.
Okay. Ajit, very quickly.
I'm just saying the police themselves hold press conferences in case after case after case. So I don't think this is a valid criticism that the story the CBI is leaking.
And the media is doing its
Oh,
job.
all the time, all the
Absolutely.
time.
Okay, on that note, I think we'll have to end the program here. But this is something which will continue to cause a lot of concern till the time that the mindset of the security forces change and the people in authority, people in power will stop using police as a political tool. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. Arun Bhagat, Prashant Bhushan, Justice Sodhi and Ajit Sahi. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.